All right, today I am talking with Carlos Hernandez. He is a film photographer based out of Portland, Oregon. He's been doing this for a little over 12 years. On average, he shoots 15 weddings a year. A quarter of those are in Portland, and the rest are destination. Thanks for hanging out, Carlos. I want to just talk about what got you into film 12 years ago.
Thanks for having me, Craig.
Yeah.
Let's see. So it's been a long road. I remember the very first wedding I shot was somebody tried to convince me to shoot their wedding. So I had been a photographer or amateur photographer for as long as I can remember. I think on my website I talk about how I picked up my very first camera by like returning, I think it was like 10 or 20 like Coca-Cola caps and like a few pesos because I was living in Mexico back then.
Yeah.
And it was a film camera and I just used to use that all the time. It was like in the shape of like Coca-Cola can. It was super cool. It was like a 16 millimeter. But so ever since I've been in love with photography, I went to college to be a traffic engineer, or actually civil engineer, and then became a traffic engineer. But
Yeah.
I went to college for that. But during that time, I had friends, obviously, during college that ended up getting married, and they realized that I took somewhat of good pictures, and they kept asking me to take pictures of the wedding. So obviously at first I said no because I'm like, that's just way too much pressure on me and I don't want that. But they kept insisting and then I finally said yes. And that kind of snowballed into more people wanting pictures just because they saw the pictures I took.
Yeah.
And it kind of snowballed into like a lot of people wanting pictures. And it was mainly friends at the beginning. And then I realized, wait, I really like this. Maybe there's something more in here. So then I took a couple of classes in a community college where I was living at the time, and I hated them, so I dropped them because it wasn't what I really expected.
Yeah.
So then I just hit up a couple of photographers where finally somebody was like, "Oh yeah, I'll mentor you. I'll tell you what to do," and that kind of where I got started.
So you obviously got over your fear of the pressure that comes along with a wedding, of the moments don't repeat themselves.
It was a few weddings into it where I was like, I kind of like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not so bad. I mean, obviously, I feel like maybe even you have this, but I feel like every photographer, you still get a little bit of jitters before a wedding because it's not something you can repeat.
Yes.
You know, if something goes wrong, you just,
Yeah. Yeah, it does happen. It doesn't bother me because I'm personally like a big OCD planner, but
Right.
I can count on one hand situations where the technology decided it wanted to do something funky, and then you get like a hot sweat for a hot second, and then you have to figure out how to solve it really fast. Anyways.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I have a bunch of backups of everything, as I'm sure you do too. I remember in this last wedding I was at, I don't think the couple noticed. I was shooting. It was like the first look.
Yep.
And as I was shooting and I had a second photographer, and the second photographer realized that I was fidgeting with my camera as they were like kind of towards the end of the first look, and
Okay.
she just like took over. And I just picked up my other camera and I'm like, okay, here we go. And I got to figure out a couple of things, but that's why I always carry 2 or 3 cameras just to make sure.
Yeah.
But things always go wrong and you just have to, figure it out.
Classic. Yeah. That's like weddings in a nutshell. Anyways, yeah. I was talking with a DJ about this when we were talking about things going wrong. I was like, that's why you hire a great wedding planner, a great team, because you'll never know about the things that went wrong, and that's perfect, and things will just go smooth and we'll make it, anyways.
Yeah.
So talk to me. So that's how you got into it. What's nowadays, what has kept you in it? Like when leads come in, you're like, gosh, I love these leads. These kind of weddings just like invigorate me and they keep me going.
So first, I meet with a couple, kind of to see if we're a good fit.
Yeah.
So I try to I interview them, they interview me, that kind of a process.
Yeah.
And I feel like through that, every single time I have met a couple, I kind of fall in love with their story and like the fact that I am able to capture their love story and that moment that's so special and the time that they're going to be so happy. I feel like that's what keeps me going, to know that I'm photographing people kind of in their best moments in their lives. And it brings kind of a smile to my face when I see their reaction to when I deliver the pictures, when I get the emails back saying like, oh, these pictures were beautiful. We loved having you. You were a breath of fresh air. That's what somebody just said recently. But
yeah,
it's just, I don't know. It's super cool to know that you made that big of an impact in somebody's life. It's like their memories that they're going to carry on for, generations.
And why do you think somebody said you're a breath of fresh air? I could take guesses.
Yeah. So I'm pretty calm and collected person even during the wedding.
Yeah.
And the wedding was pretty chaotic. There was a lot of things that were happening at once, and she was a little bit stressed.
Yeah.
So she told me that I was a breath of fresh air because I was with her and I was calming her down and telling her that everything was going to be okay. And we just walked away for a minute and said, let's go take a picture, just outside in the wilderness, essentially, like out away from everybody. And she really enjoyed that with her husband at that time now. And she really enjoyed that I was able to realize that was happening, took her away. We took a couple of pictures of just them two and kind of like recoup. So those types of things I love doing just to make sure that the couple is really enjoying their day.
As a wedding photographer, you're kind of like Goose. You're like a good wingman to the bride, taking care of her, making sure she's okay, calm.
And the groom sometimes.
Yes. Talk to me about, so you are specifically a film photographer. Why did you choose to go down that road? And for anybody who doesn't know, it's film versus digital. It's what you grew up with. It's what you see in your parents' chest of all the photos. So
like I said, my very first camera was or I think I was telling you behind the scenes. It was a film camera, the very first one I picked up. And I feel like at that time, digital wasn't really that great. I was like maybe like 10 years old. So that was a long time ago.
Yeah. We don't got to talk age.
So digital wasn't really a big thing just yet.
Yeah.
When I started doing weddings and I realized that that's what I liked, so digital became kind of a big workhorse, and I used that for a little bit. But then I realized, man, there's something about film that it's much more. I don't know. I don't like all the words that people started to use, like ethereal and all that stuff, because I don't like those words. But it's kind of like timeless. I guess it's the word that I like to describe better. Still, maybe some people may disagree, but the dynamic range and certain aspects of film are still a little bit better than digital. Digital's catching up a little bit, but at the time, I realized that I had a better product by shooting film.
Yeah.
So that's when I decided, a couple of years into becoming a wedding photographer, I realized that I really, really enjoy shooting film, and I wanted to do that again. And there wasn't really a lot of people doing it, so I felt like that was something that I could used to set me apart from everybody else. And it did.
And do you feel like on the day, is it a hindrance, or do you move just as fast? Because wedding days are fast. If I'm trying to think what couples might be thinking, like, oh, do we want to hire a film photographer? What's it like on the day of for a couple? Do they experience anything different?
Yeah, so I think maybe that's the reason why I'm a little bit more calm and a little bit more, relaxed in the wedding day, just because you can't take 20 pictures a second like you can with the digital. So you have to really be thoughtful of the pictures that you're taking. So in my mind, I feel like that has made me a better photographer, because you're having to think more through what's about to happen, or to think through about what position is going to look better, instead of just shooting, 20 a second and then be like, oh, one of those is going to turn out. Mm-hmm. So you're having to really think about the photo more and the composition than just, shooting really fast and hoping for the best.
Yeah.
So I feel like that has helped me be a better photographer in that way, and to also slow down, because, like I was saying, weddings are so fast. So being able to slow down even with a couple, I feel like they really enjoy that.
Like, if we talked about your photos, we're kind of changing a little bit here, but as you've done this for over 12 years and you deliver photos to couples, and they respond to you and be like, oh, you're a breath of fresh air, or they love their photos. Just out of curiosity, what kind of photos do you find couples fall in love with most? Is there a certain kind of style, a candid, certain moments that they're just always attracted to, or what makes them really be like, oh man, that's such a beautiful moment caught in time?
So it's really funny. I was just having this conversation with another photographer, and I think it may be the same for everybody, but I feel like the time of, a lot of couples choose to do sunset photos even during the wedding. So they kind of go away from their reception and they go just take a few photos. So I feel like that's the time that most couples like the images from. And I think it may be just because all of the ceremony, all of the really time-consuming things have already gone away, and they're a little bit more relaxed. They're a little bit more at ease with what's happening, and they just know they already got everything out of the way. Now we're just them two and having a moment together. Yeah. And I feel like just because of that, because they're more relaxed, because they're more at ease, then they're able to love the picture they're taking because it's more natural and more normal to take pictures in that scene.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I think that's it. I think that's a good kind of like, hey, wet your feet a little bit. This is Carlos. If you're curious to learn more about Carlos, they can visit your website at
carloshernandez.co.
And then is it Carlos Hernandez on Instagram as well?
Carlos Hernandez photo.
Great. Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'll include all the links to his info below. You can go hunt him down and check out his beautiful film work. Also, if you're curious, I'll link another film right after this that you can watch that him and I have done as well. Thanks.